Before we start, I do have to give the webcasting introduction. This meeting is to be webcast, and regardless of whether it's webcast or not, but members are reminded to activate your microphones before you speak, but also to deactivate after you finish speaking. And the button beside the base of the microphone is what you press, the biggest button. But only one microphone in the chamber will work at any one time. My microphone works all the time. Thank you. So I do need to read out the announcement about the webcast. I would like to remind everyone present that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet or filmed and will be capable of repeated viewing or another use by such third parties. If you are seated in the lower public seating area, it is likely that recording cameras will capture your image, and this will result in the possibility that your image will become part of the broadcast. This may infringe your human and data protection rights, and if you wish to avoid this, you should move to the upper public chamber. And then going on to item 2 on the agenda, apologies for absence.
No apologies for absence.
Thank you. And any declarations of interest? No. In that case, if I can now first of all introduce those of us who are on this level. On my left is Graham Oakley, who is our legal officer. On my immediate right is Councillor Caroline Pond, and on her right, Councillor Richard Morgan, and I'm Councillor Mary Sartin, who I'm chairing this subcommittee this morning. On the far right is Stephen Mitchell, who is our webcast officer. And sitting in the chamber, we've got Councillor Judy Jennings, who is the 4th member of the subcommittee, but is not sitting on the hearing, but we do always have to have 4 members present in case of any declarations of interest that may come up that we're not aware of. And on my far left is Laura Kerman, who is the Democratic Services Officer for the meeting this morning. And if I could now just ask those of you in the chamber, I should have introduced or asked the licensing officers just to introduce themselves as well.
Morning, Chair. I'm Debbie Holton, Licensing Officer. I'm covering for Peter Jones this morning, who unfortunately is not well.
Thank you. And
hello, morning. I'm Handan Ibrahim. Thank you.
Thank you. So if I could now ask those present for these applications just to introduce yourselves and tell us which item you're here for. So if I can start with you, sir.
Good morning. My name is Nick Samper, and I am a licensing consultant and agent acting for Young and Cush this morning. Thank you.
Morning. My name's Ritesh Parekh, and I'm here for the premises licence for Young and Cush.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Amit Parekh, and I'm also here for the licensing for Young and Cush.
Thank you. And we have the 3 of you who could just introduce yourselves at this moment.
Yep, I'm Neil Darter from New Big Bottle Shop, coming for hearing for variation to a licence.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, if you can just press your button again. Thank you.
I'm Michael O'Kane. I'm here for New Big Bottle Shop, and I'm director of the shop.
Thank you.
I'm Jill Samper. I've just come to watch proceedings, a member of the public.
Thank you. Right, if I can now just run through the general proceedings for the hearing. We've opened the meeting. The lead officer will outline the matter for each of the applications before us this morning. The applicant or representative will then present the application, and with or without witnesses. If you wish to ask anybody else to add anything, you will then be questioned by us as 3 members of the panel, and also we have no objectors here this morning, but if there had been, they would also have been able to ask questions. But having asked our questions, you can then have the opportunity to give a final statement, and then we will leave the chamber, I believe, so you can stay in the chamber during our deliberations, and we will return once we've made our decision on each of the applications. Okay, so if I can turn now to the first application, which is for a premises licence for Young and Cush at 84A Queen's Road, Buckhurst Hill, and I believe Debbie Houghton is going to outline the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. We're here today to consider an application for a premises licence under the Licensing Act. An application has been made by the licensing guys on behalf of Ritesh Perek for a new premises licence at 84A Queen's Road, Buckhurst Hill, Essex. The application is for the sale of alcohol for consumption off the premises Monday to Sunday, 0900 hours to 2300 hours. The application was received on the 7th of May 2021. Oh, I think that should be...
Yeah, that was something I wanted to check with you, whether that date was correct.
Sorry, Chair, I can't answer that question. No. Maybe the... What was the question again, sorry? The date, the application was received on the 7th of May 2021.
We would make the assumption that it should be 2022 and that it's just a typo. Yes, typo error. Yes, Mr. Oakley.
Sorry, Debbie, can you just confirm the hours as well? I think you said 2,200 hours rather than 2,300 hours, which is on the application.
Someone?
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, sorry, I thought I said 2,300.
It's 0900 to 2300 hours.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, yeah, it's... I'm not sure on whether it was the 7th of May, but it should be 2022 anyway. And the hours are 0900 hours to 2300 hours, Monday to Sunday. The operating schedule sets out the conditions which will be attached to the licence if this application is granted. The responsible authorities have all received a copy of the application. It was also advertised at the premises and in a local newspaper. A copy of the blue notice and newspaper advert is attached to this report. All residences and businesses within a 150-metre radius of the premises were individually consulted. The authority has received 2 representations, both from residents in the area. At the end of the consultation period, attempts to mediate between the residents and the applicant were made, with the applicant offering a reduction in terminal hour to 2200. But this did not appease the residents, and so the application remains to be seeking 2300 hours closure. There were also responses from Environmental Health, Community Resilience, Essex County Fire and Rescue and Essex County Council Safeguarding, all of whom have no comments to make. Essex Police have also responded with conditions that have been agreed with the applicant. Copies of all these letters and emails are attached to the report. The objections relate to the licence objective of public nuisance. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. So if I can now go to Mr. Semper to put the application before us.
Good morning, everybody. Now, I've got a presentation here. I brought a spare copy because it's going to be word for word what I'm going to tell you, and hopefully it should save the note takers a lot of time in writing it all down, and also may indeed assist Mr. Oakley. So, with yours and Mr. Oakley's permission, is it okay if I...
if it's just supplementary to the application?
Yes, absolutely, sir. That's exactly what it is, just to save everybody some time. So, this application is about a small specialist supplier of spirits who wish to retail only high-end products, which will appeal to only those most discerning customers with the means to afford them. The application is straightforward in its terms and amply conditioned in its content. It's really quite simple. This shop was once a dilapidated, now refurbished unit. This is a start-up and will be the first in the line of similar outlets, of which there will be 4 or 5. The applicant is a successful businessman and an experienced operator of similar businesses, which he has run for many years without any issues. Likewise is DPS, incidentally. Now, I will address you further on the fact that not one responsible authority or ward councillor has objected to this application a little later. But first, I will summarise the representations from the members of the public that lie before you. There are 2 in total, and they criticise the application on the basis that the grant of a premises licence to these premises could cause alcohol-related ASB, crime and ASB, and noise problems and parking issues could ensue. They question why another off-licence is needed, as there is seemingly another in the area, being a Waitrose further down the road. They query the proposed operating hours. Now, clearly, you will recognise that some of these matters fall completely outside the remit of the licensing subcommittee. What stands out most in these representations is the pure speculation that a rise in crime and ASB, noise and parking issues could occur were you to grant this application this morning. I understand this well-worn concern, but this is an evidence-based process, so I'll explain why these concerns are totally without evidential foundation. Now, the burden, just to remind everybody, the burden is on the applicant, i.e. me, and these two fine people next to me, to show that the proposals in and around the operating schedule are capable of promoting the licensing objectives. Representatives, on the other hand, have the burden to show the opposite, that the premises operating under this operating schedule will undermine the licensing objectives, and they have to demonstrate that with evidence. Now, in my submission, any subcommittee properly advised can only refuse this application if they find that this operating schedule that lies before you is not capable of promoting the licensing objectives. There is no evidence in this bundle, and nothing is said in any of the representations that challenges or criticises in any way the operating schedule, the premises, the applicant, or the DPS, the designated premises supervisor, sorry. There is simply no challenge or criticism contained in any of it. Now, Epping Forest District Council have been exceptionally helpful in their statement of licensing policy by providing very clear guidance on its expectations about what is and isn't acceptable. And the police have also set a high standard. Para 1.33 also states that licensing conditions will be tailored to the individual application, and only those appropriate to promoting the licensing objectives will be imposed. Licence conditions will not be imposed where other controls or legislation exist to provide sufficient protection to the public. Now, I will demonstrate very clearly how this operating schedule is capable and will promote the licensing objectives, and here we go. Our premises and its frontage will be monitored by modern CCTV and staffed by trained, competent and confident staff. Exemplar due diligence control measures will be utilised, such as our bespoke incident and refusals logs, and Challenge 25 will be rigorously applied. Therefore, all the elements of the operating schedule before you do indeed demonstrate how we intend to comply with every element of your policy aims in order to promote the licensing objectives. So who else has made representations, or more significantly, who has not? The licensing authority, acting as a responsible authority and responsible for licensing in Epping Forest, has raised no representation. The police, who are your primary source of information and evidence on all crime and disorder and ASB issues in your town, have made no representation whatsoever. There is no doubt good reason for that position, as I've already served on you the crime and ASB data for the area, which clearly demonstrates, it's in your bundle by the way, which clearly demonstrates reducing crime rates in Buckhurst Hill and a lack of crime in that locality. Environmental Health, who deal with quality of life issues, have raised no representation under the public nuisance objective. Trading Standards, who deal with the protection of children from harm, have raised no representation. The Safeguarding Board, who protect children from harm, also have raised no representation. Public Health, who deal with substance abuse issues, have raised no rep. Planning, who deal with building uses in consultation with highways, who address parking issues in the area, have raised no representation. And lastly, no county or parish councillor has raised any objection either. Now, it is therefore the logical conclusion that all of the responsible authorities are satisfied that this operating schedule, which they have scrutinised carefully, is capable of promoting the licensing objectives and will not undermine them. Fear and speculation about what might happen at some undisclosed point in the future, despite the significant raft of conditions offered within this operating schedule, it is what it is, frankly. It is fear and speculation, to which, with respect, you should attach little weight, if any. Now, you will, of course, be reminded by Mr. Bailey, your legal advisor, hopefully, that fear and speculation of what might happen is excluded from your considerations through the dictum of Her Honour, Justice Black, in the well-known Thwaites versus Thwaites and, I should say, Wirral Magistrates case. But and her advice is that you should confine your deliberations to real evidence of actual problems. So likelihood. You remember that, let's look at how likely a real and tangible rise in crime and disorder could be if you were to grant this licence. You see, the representatives take the position that were you to grant this application, then crime, ASB, noise and parking could become worse. It says so specifically in their reps. So in reverse order, parking. Parking is not a matter for a licensing subcommittee. Noise. Now, they mention another noisy place up the road, but just because another premises may have created noise, this does not mean that these premises will create noise. It's an off-licence anyway. This is an off-licence we're looking at. And there is no provision anywhere in this licence for live and recorded music or indeed any other form of regulated entertainment sort. Now, crime and ASB, well, we won't sell to drunks, street drinkers or children. And furthermore, we do not stock the cheap, super strength products that attract this type of customer. And we do not retail the kind of products that they could easily afford anyway. So in summary, the local residents, with all due respect, wish to raise matters that could occur but are either irrelevant or within the remit of responsible authorities, the professional bodies who do not themselves anticipate the same problems arising out of any grant of this licence. Therefore, with respect, I submit that you should simply just ask yourself, does this application support the licensing objectives? If it does, then with respect, it should be granted. With all the conditions that are offered, I submit that the operating schedule, the offered conditions, and the applicants are more than sufficiently robust enough to ensure the promotion of licensing objectives, and consequently, I respectfully request that you grant this modest, highly conditioned application. Thank you very much indeed, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do either of you wish to add anything, or are you happy with what your agent has?
We're happy with what the agent said. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So if I can turn to members, any questions, Councillor Morgan?
Just one question for the applicants. Can you tell us your experience in the licensing trade?
Good morning. Yes, we've run a retail store before. We've had a convenience store for 9 years. I was the DSP in charge of the licensing in the shop, and it was basically we had no trouble, and I was there training the staff and making sure nothing illegal was happening, no underage serving was happening inside the shop. Pretty much keeping on top of everything. The shop was in Wickford in Basildon, with Basildon Council. Yep. So we ran it for 9 years, and it was no trouble at all.
Thank you.
And all the staff will be fully trained by you or similar people.
Yes, they will be trained by me. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Pond?
Yes. I'm looking at the. Oh, sorry. I'm looking at the on page 34, the layout of the shop. You see, you've got two separate bits, one for the spirits and so on, and one for ordinary soft drinks and wine and stuff, I suppose. Will you have enough staff to cover both those areas at the same time?
Yeah, so it will be me and my wife both working 7 days a week inside the premises. Again, we will have sufficient staff that will be trained up by the designated premises supervisor. With all logs kept as well. Full training every 4 to 6 months will be given to all the staff that are there. But just to start with, for the time being, it will just be me and my wife running the business.
Can you explain the CCTV to the ladies? The camera's shown on.
Yeah, so basically there will be quite a few cameras all the way from outside Out the back as well, there's kind of like a rear garden patio area. There'll be cameras out there as well. There'll be, as soon as you walk into the shop itself, there will be full face recognition, CCTV put in as well. I've seen there's a new company out now that does something to do with face recognition. If there's any problems, it alerts you straight away. So there will be a lot of different CCTV in place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, looking at the plan, sorry, I just, obviously an off licence can sell any alcohol it wishes to, but you're describing it as a boutique off licence only offering high-end spirit products, but you're showing a plan with wines and other alcohol. I just wondered what your real intention was on what you were going to be selling.
Yes, that's correct. We will be selling wines. There will be spirits and wines as well, but it will be all the high-end bottles of wines, all your exclusive wines and champagnes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
and
you.
Also from the various bits of paperwork we have here, on page 26, you refer to internet sales and deliveries. Obviously, there are all rules and licensing objectives around delivery sales, which are set out here. But I just wondered who you were going to have doing the deliveries. Is it going to be an external, like, I mentioned delivery because that's the only one I can sort of think off the top of my head, or is it your own personal employee that will be doing the deliveries?
Okay, so to start with, it will just be me or my wife doing the deliveries ourselves. Afterwards, it will just only be the trained staff that we have in the to do deliveries. So it won't just be Deliveroo or Uber Eats or anyone like that. We're not going to be going with any courier service. It will be done independently by ourselves.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And obviously, any deliveries that are made that are not, nobody is on the premises to actually take them, will not be left on a doorstep or anything like that?
No. So one of the sanctions that we will be putting into place is whoever has ordered online, it will only be delivered to them themselves. So they will have to tell us a time that they're available at home for us to be able to deliver it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Have we got any other questions? Mr. Oakley, have you got anything you want to...
I just want to clarify, the licensing officer has helpfully put in the conditions, sort of amalgamated them all on pages 58 and 59, which included the one that you, in your statement, Mr. Semper, you said that there was no representations or objections from the police. They did ask for one additional, and that has been included on those pages. Can you confirm that those are the conditions that are agreed?
Yes, indeed. Sorry, I meant representation filtering their way through, and that was lazy.
Sorry, could you just put your microphone on because of the webcast?
You're absolutely right, Mr. Oakley. I was lazy in my I meant representations filtering through to be presented before you today. Clearly, each police force is very alive to prevalent issues in their area, and the Essex Police came up with a couple of tweaks to our suggested conditions that we were only too pleased to accept. Thank you.
So the conditions that are on page 58 and 59, which have been amalgamated by the licensing officer, are the conditions from the operating schedule and the police, and they're all agreed by you.
Can I just ask, oh, sorry, was there anything else? No. Obviously, quite a bit of open space there. There's no intention to put in any tables or chairs in that open space within the premises?
No, there will be no tables and chairs in there at all.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Unless there's anything else, anything that you wish to conclude with that hasn't been mentioned previously?
I mean, I've got a closing statement, but I don't think there's any point. The fact of the matter is it's been really well explored, and thank you very much indeed for the way you've welcomed this application. Thank you.
Can I just ask again one question, because obviously we're going to go off and deliberate on the application. There was the question from one of the objectors as to whether you would be see it as acceptable to reduce the closing time till 2,200 hours as opposed to 2,300 hours. How would your clients feel if we took that one forward as
well, we made that offer hoping to placate the representation is to avoid you us all having to come here today, but that was rejected. So if you don't mind, we'd like... The reason why, by the way, these guys have got no intention to be there at 11 o'clock at night serving, right? The license covers those internet sales. Now, around about Christmas, you get really, really busy. We license gin distilleries, cider producers, hamper makers, and Christmas is a very, very busy time. So what happens is they take the orders, pick, pack, and dispatch until 11 o'clock at night, and then the following morning they start off again at 8 o'clock because you've got certain hours around the working time directive, whether that still applies and what have you. So that's why it's gone to 11 o'clock. I think it's fair to say that you don't intend to be there after 9 o'clock at night.
9 o'clock, I would say, would sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So my operating hours would generally be, latest would be 9 weekdays, more than likely 9 o'clock on a weekend. So I wouldn't be staying open till 11 o'clock at all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
No.
Sorry. Right, Mr. Look, you're all experienced licensing committee members. You realise that the 11 o'clock isn't for the shop front necessarily, although it could apply to the shop front, because they're not split, okay, in the application process. The 11 o'clock is for the purposes of those internet sales, whereby you've got a site selling and a pick, pack and dispatch operation behind it at peak times. Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, Christmas, St Andrew's Day, the Burns Day, shifting all those, St Andrew's Day, sorry. Okay, right. Oh, did I just step on some corns? I'm awfully sorry. But you know what I'm trying to describe, peak moments. Thank you.
I was quite happy with St Andrew's Day. Can I just ask around that what would be the latest that you would be leaving the premises to deliver to a customer?
Yeah, so the deliveries themselves would only be available while the shop is open. So it would be 8 o'clock on a weekday, 9 o'clock on a weekend. What I would be doing is maybe if someone does order at 7:30, 7:45 at night for a delivery, then I would do that on my way home. But generally the delivery is only while the shop would be open.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think then we've probably covered all the possible issues. So we'll, as I say, we'll leave the chamber and return once we've made our decision. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. I now have to read out the decision sheet. This is the decision sheet for an application for a premises licence under the Licensing Act 2003 for Young and Cush at 84A Queen's Road, Buckhurst Hill, Essex, IG9 5BS. The Licensing Subcommittee considers that the application satisfies the necessary requirements in order to be considered, as it is on the prescribed form, it has been advertised and relevant notifications given. The Licensing Subcommittee has taken into account the relevant written and oral representations, the 4 licensing objectives and the Council's licensing policy, as well as the Secretary of State's guidance. During our deliberations in private session, our advisory officers gave us no advice. The decision of this licensing subcommittee is that the application for a premises licence in respect of Young and Cush be granted for consumption of alcohol off the premises Monday to Sunday between 9 a.m. and 2,300 hours, so 900 hours and 2,300 hours, with opening hours for the same times, subject to the following conditions, which in the opinion of this licensing subcommittee are reasonable, proportionate and in the public interest for the promotion of the licensing objectives. 1. The conditions which are consistent with the operating schedule as varied by the conditions agreed with the licensing officer of Essex Police, all of which are set out on pages 58 and 59 of the agenda for this meeting. 2. We are also attaching the mandatory conditions contained in sections 19 to 21 of the Licensing Act 2003. The applicant and persons who made relevant representations are reminded of their right of appeal to the Magistrates' Court within 21 days of the written notification of this decision, and the applicant is also reminded that if the conditions of the licence are breached, the matter can be reviewed by the licensing subcommittee and the premises licence can be looked at again. And that's signed by myself, Councillor Mary Sartin, as chairman, dated the 16th of May 2022. And you will receive a written copy of this granting of the application through the post. I'm assuming it's through the post. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Bye. So we now move on to agenda item 6, and as all those present were in the chamber when I read out the procedure earlier, I won't repeat that. So if I can go to the licensing officer to present the application for a variation to the existing premises licence for New Breed Bottle Shop, 287 High Road, Loughton, Essex, IG 10 1AH. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we're here today for an application that's been made by New Breed Bottle Shop Limited for a variation of the premises licence. The authority received the application on the 1st of April 2022. A copy of the present licence for the premises, the application for variation and the public notice has been attached to the agenda. The applicant is requesting an extension of the hours for the sale of alcohol to the premises as follows. Monday to Wednesday, 1,200 hours to 2,200 hours. Thursday to Saturday, 1,200 hours to 0,100 hours. Sunday, 1,200 hours to 1,800 hours. The opening hours of the premises will be the same. Monday to Wednesday, 1,200 hours to 2,200 hours. Thursday to Saturday, 1,200 hours to 0,100 hours. And Sunday, 1,200 hours to 1,800 hours. With regards to the consultation, the responsible authorities have received a copy of the application. It was properly advertised at the premises and in a local newspaper. The authority has received a representation from Loughton Town Council and one representation from a local resident. There has been conditions which have been agreed by Essex Police licensing, which has been attached. The representations with regards to the objections relate to the prevention of crime and disorder and the prevention of public nuisance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So if I can now turn to, is it Mr O'Kane or Mr Data who are going to present the... Mr O'Kane, thank you.
Well, I think I'll probably start, but it's going to be a joint effort,
Yeah, no, that's fine.
to be frank. So would you like me to start with the council objection, first of all? Just to lay out exactly what our shop is and what we do. So we are quite a new concept for the area. We sell really high-end alcoholic products along with soft drinks. Basically, we sell craft beer, Belgian beers, German beers, UK craft beer, and we have a fine spirit selection along with natural wine from small independent producers from all over the world. They are high-end products. Where we're slightly different to a standard shop is we are a tasting venue as well. We give people the opportunity to come on site to try the beers that we have on tap. We always have 8 different beers available, along with the beers that are stocked in the fridge. We always have a bottle of wine open, or a number of bottles of wine open for people to try as well. We offer tasting evenings, tasting events. We offer bespoke services for customers to come in, pay an amount, and we will put on a tasting evening or a tasting afternoon for them, going through a number of beers or perhaps a number of wines, and we will tailor it to what that individual customer would like to do. Now, the reason we want to extend our license is we are having to turn away quite a lot of business. We've become a very, very popular part of Loughton. We've developed a community within Loughton, and we have a fantastic following. The business has been extremely successful in a very short period of time. We can point to 17 months of operation now, and within that time, I would say we're very pleased with how it's gone. We've never had any issues whatsoever. We attract a certain type of clientele to the premises that you wouldn't associate with causing trouble or overdoing the drinking. But we are at a point where we're having to turn business away because we don't have the facility to give people the experience that they would like. So many people come in and ask for a tasting. They will ask to can we do it tomorrow? Can we do it tomorrow evening? You know, certainly Thursday, Friday and Saturday are in our busy periods, and we're having to say no and turn away what is actually the lifeblood of our business because we can't turn around a late license agreement and what is it? Yeah. What do you say?
It's a 10.
It's called.
Sorry. Yeah. So currently we have to apply for a temporary events notice every time.
So we're turning that business away, and unfortunately, although we've got a really successful business that has had a really positive impact on the local community, we probably won't be able to survive if we keep turning that business away. The events piece is really what is going to allow us to be successful, and we've got to a point where we're just turning that business away time and time again. So that's why we need to extend the license.
Thank you.
Just to say, so we've been trading since December 2020. We actually opened on the 23rd of December, so we got two days of Christmas that year, but it was in the midst of a lockdown. So at the start, the licensing hours, obviously we couldn't have people sampling indoors because it was a lockdown. And so and everyone was pretty much working from home. So the hours that we previously put in, they worked for us because everyone's working from home, so 12 till 8 was fine. No pubs are open, so people weren't going out anyway. So this extension hours just comes back to the fact that people are now going into like commuting again. And like Michael says, we're turning people away where they're coming back from London later on, or they want to do a guided tasting or a private event. So that's really why we want to change these hours and why it worked to begin with, and we need that flexibility more now.
Thank you. All right.
With regard to the second objection, the local resident, we have 2 tables outside the premises, which are only out for maybe 1/3 of the year. We only put them out if we've got exceptional weather, which isn't that often, unfortunately. And the individual who has raised that concern, you know, we're actually on side with them. We don't want to create a situation where there are people out late in the evening outside our shop. It creates the wrong impression. We are quite happy, and we would enforce this, and we already do. We bring the tables in. We're very strict to say that people need to be sat down if they're outside. We wouldn't tolerate anyone stood up drinking or doing their tasting on the pavement. And we're quite happy to bring the tables and chairs in at 9 o'clock in the evening, because we don't want to create a situation for the people that live around us in the flats above. It's the last thing we want to do. But again, I'd like to say we don't attract the type of people that would be loud, would be making a serious amount of noise or overdoing their experience in the shop. I think that also the whole area is covered with CCTV. We operate that 24 hours. The entire area outside where people can sit down is covered by the CCTV as well. So that is monitored, and we have really experienced people. Myself and Neil are always in the shop, but the people we employ as well have been in the industry for a long time. They're experts in the products that we sell, but they're also experts in the hospitality industry, and they know how to deal with people, and we know when we feel we might need to move somebody on from the premises.
Thank you very much. Can I just ask a question before I go to my fellow councillors? Is the area outside the shop part of your licensed area? And perhaps I'm looking at our officers for that answer.
They have recently applied for pavement licence. We have discussed about the licensable area, but they do have on and off sales, and consumption is not licensable. So if they wish to do that, and there's only consumption. But yes, if we have discussed if they wish to vary and include the plan to show the outside area. So that is something that they can do going forward.
What we haven't got at the moment is a plan of the premises itself.
I gave a copy of the plan. I think it's, I handed it over. Is it there?
No, that's the other one.
I handed it over earlier. 4 copies. No, not there. I'll show you.
Oh, yeah, sorry. You've got... Thank you. Do you want to have that?
Can I just add something? The pavement licence was granted in April last year. That's about right.
But does that include the consumption of alcohol on the pavements? Again, I'm looking to our officer for that.
They do have on and off sales, so consumption is not licensable. So if as long as they've got on and off sales, they can have that. Yes, it's good practice to have it on the plan. Currently, when they first applied, they only had premises plan, not including the outside. Obviously, during lockdown, where businesses were encouraged to go outside, they applied for a pavement licence, so they've got pavement licence so they can use the outside. We have discussed them including that going forward on their licence, but they do have on and off sales on their licence, so people can take the drinks away and consume the alcohol without, obviously consumption is not licensable.
So what you're saying is that people can buy the drink in the shop, take it off the premises and drink it at the table outside?
Yes.
Right, okay. Thank you. Seems a bit of an anomaly. But,
yeah, it is good practice to, if they apply for a licence, to have a plan and to show that if it's for on sale only, it is a requirement that they have a plan and highlight that in red if there's any outside area. With regards to this premises, it is on and off sales, so they don't actually have to show the outside area because they've got on and off sales, and they can take it away, and consumption is not licensable. So
thank you. Sorry, I know that doesn't form part of this particular application, but I just wanted to clarify that in our own minds as to where we were with that. So if I can go to Councillor Morgan.
Thank you, Chairman. Just going on about the outside area, the tables and chairs, you'd be happy to have a condition that it was cleared by 9 o'clock at night then? Sorry.
Absolutely, without doubt. We would want to do that anyway. We don't want to create any kind of nuisance in the area. We don't want any noise out there. We will probably be out of the building by that time most of the time anyway. We're only looking for flexibility. Neil and I are family guys. We need to see our family as well. So we would always and happy to have a condition to say be in by 9 o'clock. That's no problem at all.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Pond.
Yeah, yes, I was thinking I'd ask some of those questions too. Oh, sorry. Yeah, because there are flats above the premises, so we were concerned that they wouldn't get disturbed, or you'd turn the noise off if it got to a certain thing. Yeah, that's right. How many, you haven't got much room on the pavement out there, have you? How many tables and chairs do you get at a maximum?
We've got 2 tables and 2
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 tables, 2 benches, so I'm getting really close now. 2 tables and 2 benches, so you could probably get 8 people out there anyway, to be honest. But like we said, we don't want to be serving people outside, and we don't want people hanging around outside the shop, to be honest, because it's not what we do, do you know what I mean?
That's where the trouble might start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
The pavement licence, isn't it? Is it a temporary? Is it a new government initiative just for a little while?
Oh, yes.
Because it's highways normally would
If I could just
have to give you.
Paving licences have been granted by the cabinet member for this area, and myself, and obviously the licensing officers. We do go and see them. If there's objections, then we have to look at those. But it's done by a small panel, really. Yes. So the chairman or the vice chairman has to agree it. But it's only for 2 tables and 2 chairs and a small area, as long as the pavement has got room for people to walk along as well. And the other thing, while I'm on the smoking area, where is this?
To be honest, if anyone wants to smoke outside, then we'll provide them with an ashtray on the table. We won't allow them to, and we're sweeping up out there all the time. If anyone does put cigarettes out and sweep, but it's on the high road. So essentially, we'll provide people with an ashtray, so we're not creating a mess on the street. And if anyone does disobey that, then we're sweeping up constantly anyway. So.
Okay, thank you. Sorry,
Okay. No, that's okay, thank you.
Would you mind if I just added a point there? Is that okay? So with regards to the tables that are outside, we've had them out since we were able to, probably about May of last year. And you know, it does get quite popular. It's a sunny area, but we've never had any issue. We've never had any complaints from the people in the flats above us. If anything, the people in the flats above us love having the shop there because it's a great location for them. And we've got a lot of patrons actually from the shops from the area that actually love coming in and don't have an issue with the tables at all.
So when people are testing your products, how long on average do they stay on the premises?
So, I mean, it depends. I mean, if you're talking about an actual tasting, so a guided tasting, then, to be honest, if it's a wine tasting, then it could last up to sort of 4 hours because you've got to taste 8 different wines and people drink at a different pace. But that's inside the shop with the doors closed after hours at the moment. So that would still be the case if we got the extended licence. We're not going to be doing that outside, but people have spent a ticket to try 8 different wines, eat some cheese and bread, etc. So that takes a while. So that's why we've put the later licensing in, because it gives us that flexibility. Because people drink at a different pace, we need that sort of buffer. Do you know what I mean? Rather than people have spent £65 on a ticket to come in for a wine tasting, and they've not finished the wines, it's difficult. I don't want to kick them out 11 if they've only tried 4 of the 8 wines. You know what I mean?
And on average, though, I think in terms of the time people spend in the shop, I would say you're looking at an hour and a half to 2 hours on average, unless it is an event, you know, as Neil said. Yeah.
Mr. Oakley.
Yeah, you say you've had some 10s to cover it up to now. How many have you had, and were they up to the same times that you're asking for the extension?
I'd need to clarify. They have applied for quite a lot of 10s. I think not just this year, last year. No objections to the 10s. So that's gone smoothly. So I think the 10s have increased. I can't give you a number now without checking. But the times are roughly, I think, 11 or 12, midnight, yeah.
Thank you. And unlike the previous application, you are not doing any home deliveries or anything?
So I do home deliveries, absolutely. Yeah, we have an online business as well. Right. So we do home deliveries, local deliveries, but we will only do next day delivery if you were to order. We'll do same day delivery if you order before 2:30. Otherwise, it'll come the following day. We do nationwide deliveries via a courier as well.
Thank you. Right, anything else? No? Anything you want to add that hasn't been mentioned previously?
Yeah, if you don't mind, yeah, I think I really need to emphasise the fact that we've created something in Loughton which is completely unique for the area. There is nothing like us anywhere near Loughton. We've been a huge success in the business. We're well followed. Every single review we've ever received online via Trustpilot or Google reviews, it's always a 5-star review. We've never had any problems whatsoever in managing the people that come into the premises. I would say if you were to canvass people on the high street about what's good about Loughton High Street, I'm pretty sure a high percentage of people would talk about our shop. It just brings something different to the area. And Neil and I are two guys who do not want to create an environment that is noisy, that is full of drunken people. It's just not that type of place. And we would do everything to make sure that would never happen. And I really need to emphasise that. We're not those types of licensee holders.
Can I just throw in one last question? On the basis of, sampler tasting evenings, have you or are you ever likely to have stag type events as a tasting evening?
Absolutely not. I mean, there's a number of reasons. One, for a price premium, to be honest. So the people who want to go to a stag do probably want to drink lots of cheap lager and not sit in a small shop drinking expensive craft beer. So,
it's one of those ones that you could see a different clientele.
Completely. We would never have those type of people in the shop. Absolutely. Well, not those type of people. Those types of events. It's not like that at all.
Thank you very much. Oh, sorry, Debbie.
Yes, I just wanted to make clarification. A question came up a few minutes ago about pavement licences. I've asked the question, and the pavement licences have all been granted until the 30th of September this year. At the moment, the legislation is being put through Parliament to make it permanent, but it's not been passed yet. So anybody who's got an existing pavement licence will need to renew or reapply.
And they will receive notification about that?
Yes, they will.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Right, I think we've nothing else, and you have nothing else, Mr. Oakley? No. Our officers, nothing. Okay, well, again, we'll leave the chamber to consider the application and return when we have made our decision. Thank you. Right, thank you for your patience, and I, as before, have to read out the decision sheet that we have put together following our discussions. This is the decision sheet for an application to vary a premises licence under the Licensing Act 2003 for the premises to New Breed Bottle Shop, 287 High Road, Loughton, Essex. The Licensing Subcommittee considered an application for a variation of the premises licence to allow the sale of alcohol at the New Breed Bottle Shop, 287 High Road, Loughton, Essex. Monday to Wednesday, 12 noon to 2200 hours. Thursday to Saturday, 12 noon to 100 hours, midnight. And for Sunday, 12 noon to 1800 hours. And the amendment of the opening times of the premises to those same times. Representations in support of and against the variation relating to the prevention of crime and disorder and the prevention of public nuisance were also considered and taken into account. The Licensing Subcommittee has also considered and taken into account the 4 licensing objectives, the Council's licensing policy and the Secretary of State's guidance. During our deliberations in private session, our advisory officers gave us no advice. We have a slight typo on this, which will be corrected at the before you get the written one. The decision of this licensing subcommittee is the application to vary the premises licence in respect of the New Breed Bottle Shop, 287 High Road, Loughton, Essex, be granted subject to the existing conditions on the licence, with the addition of the condition previously agreed with Essex Police as set out on page 96 of the agenda. In addition, for the prevention of public nuisance, any tables used outside the premises shall be removed no later than 2100 hours Monday to Saturday and 1800 hours on Sunday. This licensing subcommittee, having considered the application to vary the premises licence, the representation made, the existing conditions on the premises licence, it is of the opinion that the application would not have an adverse effect on the promotion of the 4 licensing objectives, namely prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, prevention of public nuisance, and protection of children from harm, and that existing and new conditions will still uphold the 4 said objectives. The applicants and persons who made relevant representations are reminded of their right of appeal to the Magistrates' Court within 21 days of the date of the written notification of this decision. The applicant is also reminded that if the conditions of the licence are breached, the matter can be reviewed by the licensing subcommittee and the premises licence can be looked at again. And that is signed by myself, Councillor Mary Sartin, as chairman of this subcommittee, dated the 16th of May. So thank you very much for your patience on that. And we will correct that slight typo within the document, but you will receive a written copy of this through the post. Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, yeah.
I think you got rid of the typo, didn't you?
And with no other business on the agenda, and we have no reason to exclude public and press, I therefore close this meeting at 11:45 a.m. Thank you very much.